Good morning, Rob, and welcome to another episode of Laneway Talks. How are you?
Good, Vince. Good morning. Yes, it's a little bit warm over here, but I'm all right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple of hot days here in Melbourne, but it's a nice midsummer's day today. Now,
Yep. We're up to 36 already here.
gee whiz, I don't even want to think about it. Anyway,
Yes.
wanted to start off today. Most probably if I pick up my phone and read your message, okay,
Yes.
that you sent over, and we just go through that. So what Rob had written to me about everybody is, right, listen to this week's episode. I covered this Spotify playlist issue earlier in the year and advised all artists that it's essential to check their Spotify artist profile daily. And so that's a big ask in today's world of trying to get across life in general and checking your Spotify for artists
Busyness.
daily.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with it, that if you've got the time, yeah, you should be doing it. When we spoke last week about the issue that we had with one of our bands, that was just pure luck that I'd looked at it that day and that playlist had picked them up that day. You go on to say, if anything is found that's weird, contact Spotify immediately. Well, we spoke about that. So at least there's a trail started and if things go pear-shaped. These playlists aren't fake per se. Well, of course they're not. They're a playlist on Spotify. Hello. So they're just stupid and pointless. Well, they're not stupid and pointless. They're a fraud in a sense. So it's criminals acting in a criminal way to get money out of people illegally. So I don't know that they're stupid and pointless because the point of them is to conduct a criminal activity to siphon money out of an artist. So that's the point of it. And so then it goes on to say Spotify is aware of them and are acting on them faster than most are aware. Oh, that's great, fantastic, as they should be after turning over $10 billion a year and have the resources to put some form of protection in. Your YouTube has just started to use AI to find any and all videos that have bot and click farm plays. Yeah, okay, hello. You would, again, $20 billion company or $100 billion company. Of course you'd expect that because, we're on their platform and they have to give us a safe platform to conduct our business on, I would have thought. When YouTube find curators who are using companies to boost numbers, and there's plenty who stupidly do, their channels are being removed completely. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time. I think we got 45,000 subscribers now. And, we just keep an eye on things. And, AI has, as they say here, numerous ways to do this. Spotify are doing the same with playlists, curators, labels and distributors, now with no warning whatsoever, taking you off. As we discussed last week, singing the alarm bells. The alarm bells haven't just started. It's just because it happened to us on one with crazy numbers. There's one thing to pay curators to put you on playlists which might have 100,000 followers. They say 100,000 followers, which we know is not true, and then to get you, 50,000 streams, which are not true. But it's another thing to get one that's got 10,000 tracks. And I beg you to go on there and find real playlists that have 10,000 tracks. They don't exist, and 12.5 million followers. Well, that doesn't exist either. So straight away, you just kind of go, well, it's fictitious. So the moral of the story is, if you're an artist, watch the back end daily. If you're a label, distributor or curator, just don't be it says here, dick, and buy plays as it will be found. Yeah, hello. Okay, so
Hello.
nothing, nothing super new in that. You and me had discussed it all last week. Okay, it's been going on for ages. I know it's been going on for ages. We just got a playlist that was insanely obvious, just
Yeah.
insanely obvious. You could tell. All right, so that's that's kind of going through that, and I think that. Will this get more out of control? I think it will, because I think that as times get tougher, and times are getting tougher. I'll pull a bit back from music and go to the economy and whatever. I am an economist also. Well, I'm not an economist. I got an economics degree with commerce, and what I see happening from my perspective is that, you know, I did have a chuckle the other day, and I said to someone, look at these posts on news.com, right? So it's always bad news, but that's no different to any paper. But they have one on business, and the first one they usually bring up is the ASX numbers, right? And each day, ASX to rise. Next day, ASX to rise. Next day, ASX to rise. Big day for the ASX. Now, we need to disseminate two things. The ASX has been in trouble as of late because they're dodgy, and they are a business. They should be a government instrumentality, so they're controlled. But they are a business, so they're about making money. So they're going to tell you, get in, buy shares. They're going up. They're going up. They're going up. How can that continue, Rob? You know, and then there might be one day, it's been stable, or it's just a slight dip, or bad news for the economy, and then the next day it's on the rise again. It's like, it's stupid. I'm not a trader. I never purport to be a trader, but you know, if I listen to that kind of stuff, so if I see all that, and then I think about what's going on in the economy. I look at, let's talk about Australia and the report that came down yesterday on economic activity and how bad it is, and you know how the governments, doesn't matter which form of government, left or right, they all hide it. That, you know, our productivity is going backwards. You know, inflation is quite bad and being fueled by government spending. These are 101 courses in economics. You know, there's nothing new here, but it seems to be that everybody go, well, it's all good, it's good, it's good, government spending, and it's great, but it can't go on. So as to me, something I said to my wife this morning was, I have seen more Caucasians here in Melbourne as Uber delivery people than I've ever seen in my life. So it's usually Asians or it's Indians, and I think it's, you know, they get over here and you got to get some work, and that's what they can get quickly, and they obviously own the Uber driving too. But I've now, because I think a lot of Aussies, they think it's beneath them doing that, which is just should not be the case. It's work is work, but I've seen more than ever in the last month to 2 months, and I'm trying to figure out, is it year 12 students who are looking for summer work and therefore can't get any, so that's what they're doing? Or is it people in general doing it, Caucasians doing it, who need a second job now because their interest rates are killing them, you know, on their mortgages or cost of living crisis, so they need a second job. So I start to see all that, and I start to see more beggars on the street, you know, hobos, and because we've got them like anywhere else, but I've seen more and more. And then
homeless people.
Yeah, homeless people. Yeah, exactly. And then I draw it back to what we've been talking about, the clandestine activities in the music industry by these playlist curators and whatever. And I think it'll get worse as times get tougher, because we cannot continue to have good times and increase our living standards. It's not possible without productivity gains. And so the bubble has to burst in some form, somewhere, somehow, at a point in time. And so if that does occur, what you'll get is more people on here trying to, run sham schemes, Rob, and
Yep.
scam musicians who invariably are just trying to create music and put the love they have for this creation process out to people and to try and earn a living from it too, and then to be scammed. And, so not only was it hard enough not to be scammed by the majors if you were signed by the majors back in the day, correct,
Yeah.
Rob? Correct?
Well, yes.
Now, we had to watch that. Now we're being scammed by all these players on the internet within the music infrastructure. And, the pressure it puts on musicians must be enormous to, then have to worry about all of that too. And so, I think we're going to see a lot more of it and a lot more trickery in it, so therefore harder to catch and get past all of that. So
Yeah.
your text message is correct. Stay on it daily.
I think so, but the man who sent that, I know quite well, and the job that he does is the specific genre of music. He's on it day to day. But I see it from a different perspective because economically, I see it firsthand because I've worked in retail, music retail, and I have, since 1985. And the changes that I've seen over the years, I'm talking in technology, and like creatives have to do their job and they don't really think about the business side of things. So that's always been one of those concerns with people ripping you off, because if you're not watching your back, someone will try and take advantage of what they tend to think of as a gold mine. But the concern that I've got lately is that the amount of product that we're selling at this time of year is larger than it's ever been. And I'm on the front line of that. I see that on a day-to-day basis of how much money people are spending. But I think people are spending money they haven't got. I think they're putting it on credit cards, Afterpay, rentals. There's all these schemes set up that just keep giving people money. And like I saw that the other day on my PayPal, because I use PayPal to pay for different things, online purchases, because it's protected and it's secure. But they said, I'm pre-approved for, this outrageous amount of money to, do PayPal in 4 and things like that. I'm going, I'm not going to commit to that amount of money just because you say I can, because I'm just burying myself in another hole. And I think Afterpay's like that and Zip Pay's like that as well, because we're getting a lot more of that, people buying instruments. And I think you can't really afford this, can you? But you're just stretching yourself further and further.
Well, you're at the forefront of it. You see it straight up because it's going to hit you before it's ever reported, because you're seeing it. We know that the statistics of the statistics of the person buying from you, Rob, is not going to come through on the figures that are reported for at least another quarter.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the busiest time of the year for everybody, and it's I don't know, when people say, "Oh, there's an economic crisis," it doesn't seem like it. People aren't spending like there's some sort of financial problem out there. The supply chain, I notice, is completely stressed, and they're behind the 8 ball on a lot of products that we normally see every year. So that's a concern. I know wholesalers are doing it tough and have been all year. So that.
Now, when you say that wholesalers are doing it tough, do you mean from a profit perspective or a delivery perspective?
From product selling perspective, they're tending to say that that's what I was just talking about. Is there's a downturn in spending from retailers, but I don't know whether retailers, because I think the COVID thing, I hate to mention the C word, but I think the COVID era that we went through really turned retail around in musical instruments retail, where the retailers were holding a lot more stock.
Yeah.
And now that glut, we're on selling, we're not, say purchasing from wholesalers as much as we did over the past 12 months because we've got a lot of stock that we can on-sell.
So you're busy, but you're selling down stock. So the
false economy I'm talking about is that we bought up big during a time of stress where we didn't know what was going to happen, and now we're clearing out that. But the thing is, the money that they made 2-3 years ago, they're not making now because the retailers have got a glut and they're doing Black Friday sales, we're doing Christmas sales, we're doing the weather's changed sale.
Look, you're not telling me anything new, and we can't have good times forever. I'm not a doom and gloomer. I'm very realistic that as a society and everything that's been going on, there seems to be this notion that things are just fantastic, the lucky country, things will always get better. And, you do have to have a downturn and there will be unemployment. And the RBA has made it very clear that unemployment needs to occur to get inflation under control. Anyway, put that aside. We draw it back into what we're talking about. I suspect we will have a lot more scams within the music ecosystem online. And so, yes, we must be on our guard all the time. Within the music system itself, and we did talk about it last week, I still say that, it's a scam from woe to go for the poor old artist who puts his music out and then gets 2 cents if he's lucky, or she's lucky, and everybody else has made money along the way. And that's going to change. I have a gut feel that whole system is going to change with the advent of AI and whatever. Now, something I want to bring up is that I got sent another article from another individual about the music sector workers to lose nearly a quarter of income to AI in the next 4 years, a global study finds. Now,
I don't think it's just AI. But
it may not, but look, this is this global study. People working in the music sector will lose almost a quarter of their income to artificial intelligence within the next 4 years, according to the first global economic study examining the impact of emerging technology on human creativity. Those working in the audiovisual sector will also see their income shrink by more than 20% as the market for generative AI grows from €3 billion to 4.9 annually to a predicted $64 billion by 2028. The finding were released in Paris and yada, yada, yada. And the report concluded that while the AI boom will substantially enrich giant tech companies, creators' rights and income streams will be drastically reduced, right, unless policymakers step in. And then we go over the Australian rubbish that just happened, how they're going to control people under 16, which is not going to happen. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad, mate. I'm not against it.
That's a control thing. I really think that is bad. That's the implementation of control from a higher power over what we have sovereign rights for. So I really think they should back off on that.
Well, look, you've got your opinion. Mine is that these kids under that age, two things. We know they live on their phones, and there's no real education benefit to it. And we've just found through, again, education studies that when they started now to teach kids with back with the old school form of telling them you must do this, this and this, our NAPLAN figures have gone up, and we know our NAPLAN figures from an education standard perspective we're going backwards with the woke form of education. And so then I get to the phones, to the under 16. So yes, I'm for it. No, I disagree with it from your perspective too, that it's a form of control. And on top of that, how will you control it? I don't think you ever can. So therefore it's useless. But we have got an education problem, And anyway, that's just a whole, it's not within what we talk
Yeah,
about.
I read a really good article on that a couple of days ago. I can't for the life of me remember who it was from, but it came through in my uni feed. I think teachers are doing the best they can, and they pour their hearts out on a day-to-day basis. I talk with a lot of teachers, but that education system that they're trying to flounder in is not working. So there's this disconnect, and I speak to a lot of parents as well of students that from all levels, from like Year 6 through to Year 12 through to university students, and there's something going on that is stifling creativity, ability to learn, and it's bureaucracy that really needs to get smashed open. And I think
Could be.
I think that from my perspective and just from my research and the people that I speak to and the studies that I've done, bureaucracy is the thing that's encroaching on everything. I mean, as I said, I speak to parents, students, teachers on a day-to-day basis as well through the work that I do as an academic, and it's not a pretty picture out there on the front line. Once again, like if you're reading a report, it's always post fact. It's not a prediction. It's something that they observed 6, 8, 12 months ago by the time it gets out and gets published. But what we're seeing firsthand, and this report was a first-hand report of, results from this year, is that I know the teachers are struggling to get good content out of their students because the way that they're hamstrung by the way that bureaucracy is implementing education. It's a real concern.
It can be changed, can't it? I mean, that is controlled by the government, and the way the education department conducts itself, it comes down from the top down, from the government. So if everybody's so against it, well, excuse me.
I'm not saying they're against it. I'm just saying that they're suffering because of the structure that it is.
Oh, okay.
This is not a beat up or a whinge. It's just an observation in real time, like I'm talking about in retail when I see on the front line. It's from teachers on the front line as well. They're just the observations that I have, in my humble opinion. But when I think about it, because I think about this stuff all the time, because I talk to those people on a day-to-day basis, and I go, what's really going on? What's the big picture here? And it seems to be hamstrung by bureaucracy, decision-making that isn't relevant to what's actually happening on the street. And I think the other thing with kids on phones, I mean, I'll go back to when there wasn't phones, and if you were bored, you had to use your imagination to think about something to do. And, my parents always said to me, go out and play in the backyard or go for a ride or get on the beach or, just work out something. So you had to use that part of your brain to make up something to occupy your own mind. These days, it's all done for you. So I think we're losing the ability to do that as well. So the creativity is really, really being stretched and hamstrung. And with AI, when you come back to that, people are just having those things taken away from them and just presented to them without having to do anything. So you're just turning into automatons, really. You're just not being able to think. You're not being able to critically think, which goes back to what they're trying to hamstring students doing. They're not encouraging them to think critically at a level other than whether it's using AI or being online. So it's,
I won't talk to you again about it because you're scary, mate, when you talk about stuff like that. So Dean...
The other thing...
Yeah.
Oh, no, go on.
Yeah, well, Dean Ormston, the Chief Executive of Australian Music Rights Management Org, APRA, AMCOS, said the global report recognised the incredible opportunities AI presented, but also laid bare the urgent need for action from governments around the world to protect creative rights and incomes.
Yay!
And a lot of musicians on Laneway Music that I talk to are embracing AI and going, oh, yes, I have an idea, I put it in, it then embellishes the idea, then I take it back, then I work on it more, and yada, yada, yada. So, there's good and bad, but there is a loss of income coming for the music industry. The study concluded that under current regulatory frameworks in most countries, creators stand to lose on two fronts: unauthorised use of their works by generative AI models, which will eat into the remuneration earned through copyright, while at the same time work opportunities will shrink as AI-generated outputs become more competitive against human-made works. So there's some real challenges coming. On top of that, we pull it back to where we started today, and we've got all these players online trying to scam you as a musician too. And, effectively they can completely ruin your career. So there's some really big challenges coming with AI, don't you think?
I know there is. But, the ruining of the career, that whole thing, I mean, you've known musicians for your whole life, Vince. I mean, we're a resilient, strong, creative bunch, our generation of them. And, most of us won't stand down, most of us will just fall over and die doing what we're doing because we're passionate about it. There's a new generation of that sort of happening.
Well, just have a look at Virgin Soldiers. They disappeared for 25 years and they're back, back with a vengeance.
Yeah, but no, they didn't. I never let that go for 25 years.
Yeah, you didn't, but the band, in a sense, didn't it? Because it didn't record any more records, or produce any more music. So you did disappear for 25 years. You didn't.
Yeah. No, I didn't, because I still worked on material and like that. We're constantly working. Just because you're not releasing product to the general public doesn't mean that people have gone away or disappeared.
Well, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I can't agree with that. If you're not putting music out, how are you getting to your fan base? So where's that fan base? They've moved on.
Yeah, I see your perspective, but from a musician's point of view, trying to improve and get better and write better music and have the technical ability to play it better, there's a pursuit of a lot of that. All you're seeing is a snapshot of a finished product that gets released out to the, and that's just one small moment of a lifetime of playing.
Interesting. Now, I had this written down that I wanted to talk about something that comes within that. And that's about garage bands that never made it, and then 30 years later, coming back going, well, it comes right within what you say. I still play the guitar, I'll use a guitar, for example. I still play guitar. I'm damn good at it. I've never stopped playing it. Might have done cover band work, or I might have just been writing songs and for myself. And they come back 30 years later and, excuse me, and then have more music to deliver. Now, bands, I speak to bands about this all the time. And I go, but, how many songs have you got? Where have you been for the last 30 years? Oh, well, I haven't put anything out. I've written a lot of songs. And so there's the two levels, because of where I've come from. I saw it first as a young lad where I suppose I couldn't break into anything music because you didn't know anybody. I came from a background where we weren't, music related, so therefore how would you know anybody in the music business, and therefore how would you get ahead if you wanted to be a musician? And luckily enough, Michael Gadinsky employed me one day when he saw us play, and but employed me as an accountant at Mushroom. Excuse me.
Think about what you just said then.
well, I was.
So you played, so he employed you as an accountant.
I didn't think I was that good, anyway. And
that was my subtle instinct.
Yeah, I know, but I was still very happy with, still very happy that I was going to work in the music business, and I had this absolute love. My life revolved around motorcycles and music.
I want to be wild.
Yeah, and so then I got to see the insights and how lucky you needed to be to break into that, because there was so much competition, and
good competition.
And the things I talk about too now about having that killer track it's easy to talk about, hard to deliver. So you might have an album, back in the day when it had albums, right?
Can I just grab you on that
Yeah,
one?
yep.
And I'd go into the realm of Frank Zappa, because I love Zappa. I'm a huge Zappa fan, and I think he's one of the greatest musicians of our time. And his son still is, Dweezil. He says, who are the people that decide what a great track is?
Well, it's a good question, but I'd then take you back to radio. I'll tell you what's a good song, what radio played back then, what radio played a million times. I'll tell you what's a good song now is a song that gets on a playlist and gets 12 million streams. Now, why do I say that? Is because that educates the music listener, and so they're, in a sense, brainwashed into hearing that song 50 times, and that then embeds it in their mind. Now, is that a good song? It might not be for you, but it is for someone else. So I don't disagree.
That's the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but that's the way it is, and it always has been, and it hasn't changed now, Rob, because it was radio that did it back then, and it's playlists that are doing it now, and social media. So it's just another form.
There was something else other than radio, though, back then. There was jukeboxes. In pretty much, you go to the fish and chip shop, you go to the local deli.
Yep.
You could go and hang out at the chicken spot, and you could put on a track.
Yeah.
I remember spending all my holiday money on playing Black Knight by Deep Purple.
I remember it quite clearly in Elizabeth Street, sitting down having some dim sims in the little cafe, and they'd have the little rack of songs there, and you put 5 cents in or whatever it was.
Absolutely. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you could listen,
But again, look, we've moved on. That's in the past. And so there's just different forms, Rob, of the same thing. So therefore, what's a good song? Well, unfortunately, a good song is one that, to me...
Got to have a good beat.
Well, we've got to have a good beat. It's got to have a catchy chorus. Now, whether it's anthemic or whether... it's, I don't know, use Rocky Mountain Way, you don't ever forget it. It's just that anthemic form of chorus, or it's the riff. You go then to Skyhooks, Living in the 70s. The riff that you don't forget, and that is something probably that you've heard before anyway, and it's just constructed slightly different. That for me is what is a good song. I shouldn't say that, what is a good song. What is a song, that killer track that's going to get to the masses? And because the masses aren't, the big proportion of them, Rob, aren't educated. So they're not educated in music.
The masses or
the masses are not educated in music. They are conditioned into what they listen to, conditioned. And therefore... when we talk about songs like that, it's because they are conditioned. So I won't use are they a great track. It's a killer track because it gets to that mass. Is it a good track? Well, maybe not to you or me. But so
that's right.
But you do need to have that killer track because you need to get that audience, because the arrogance of some musicians who think, they talk as if on top of that they're educated, and they probably don't have any education, and they talk about the woes of the world and everything because they're experts on everything, and we listen to them. Anyway, I'll put that aside. I'm just kidding around there with that. It's like the David Bowie's and Elton John's talking about life. It's like you got no grip on reality and never could. So I go back. You got garage bands, You got garage bands who never really got out. So they might have played locally. And I've done supports for some reasonably sized bands, but that was it. Or they'd do the Monday nights down at the local hotel where it was get all your mates in and we'll put 5 bands on, and then the pub makes money through some beer sales. So, but the music was good, but then
the music was loud.
Yeah, and then what happens is a girlfriend, marriage, kids. And that is the end of music for the majority, all right? For the majority, not for everybody. Never happened to me, but and I went through there, marriage, kids, and I still did what I always did. But for the majority, they then give it up to the point of they just might play, let's use a guitarist, might play the guitar at home for themselves, but they're never really playing out. And then they might do a few cover band gigs and that's it. But what you get is from there, you've got these really good bands that had all the potential, didn't have the nous to either go overseas, didn't have the nous to either continue, or didn't have the willpower to go, if I get a girlfriend and then I'm married and I've got kids, then it's not going to happen either. Because of the commitment that you have to make at that early stage. And so, yeah, they get left behind. What happens, we discover them now, a lot of them come to see me now, and, you know, they go, oh, we can't believe we're talking to you, you know, and you're considering, and then I listen to some of their music and I go, you know, it sounds really good. You know, what are the expectations? There's none. We need to really sort that out straight away and go, at our age bracket, no expectations, because there isn't going to be any. But that music deserves to be out because it's good music. It could have been brilliant, but, you know, Guns N' Roses got there before you, or someone else, you know. So, but what I'm getting at too is, so we had these bands that go right back and then they stop and then they're coming back now and they're able to not only put some new music out, but then get all this old music that's on cassette or quarter-inch tape, you know, and we transfer it and put it out. And that to me is extremely encouraging because it means there's so much more music out there that would never have gotten out. And some of it is excellent. Some is just tripe, but some is good. And so we should get that out. And but they won't get across to what we were talking about before, the ones that are going to get scammed online and all that, because they're not really going to do any of that. That's for the young audience and the young musicians who now need to watch their back. So I just wanted to bring that up too, because I get a lot of that where a lot of these older bands, they go, no, we don't, look, we've got it all on cassette. And they go, so I suppose it's gone now, it'll never be. I said, no, if the cassette holds up, we've put out a lot of material off cassette and remastered it. Cassette actually holds up better than quarter-inch tape, you know. So, you know, there's still a lot of music out there to come out. Of course, we know there's a glut of music, but, you know, that's just life.
Me too. Yeah.
And, you know, and then something else I also want to discuss, which I'm just seeing a lot more of on YouTube, and I burst out laughing every time I see it, because, you know, I'm on YouTube all the time because of our channel, and and when I'm checking out all our videos and doing whatever we're doing, and you get the commercials that come up, and all the commercials that are coming up while I'm trying to bloody watch what we've got and do stuff, are young guys and young females who are trying to sell me a lifetime of making money. It is so laughable, Rob. And it's scammable just right from the beginning. You see it. Would you like to earn an extra $50,000? One I saw this morning, I want to give you $5,000 to $10,000 a month for you to promote my, you know, business, because we know you don't know. You just listen to that. That said $5,000 to $10,000. But they're young. They look like they're about 22. One of them looked like he was about 19. You know, I've got one girl, she looks, because she keeps coming up as a commercial, and she looks like she's all of 21, and she's trying to get you to, you know, trade online. It's like, are you kidding me? Do you even know what trading is?
Yeah, but none of it's real.
No, I know. I get you. And I see this all on there. It goes, how do they let all this on there? It's all, you know, because it's all money to Google.
There's no gatekeeper on YouTube.
No.
Any
it just
human with a camera and a microphone can record themselves and release it.
It is funny though, you know. This one guy I keep seeing, keeps coming up. He must be spending a fortune, right? Or someone is on him.
Well,
and he looks like your little nephew back, you know, at your brother's place, you know, who's 18, and he's telling you he's going to make you thousands. I just burst out laughing every time I see it. Yeah, I can't wait to see the skip icon come up, because I've got to get past it. You know, I keep listening to him all the time. Oh my God. You know.
Yeah, I mean, this whole crypto thing is a bit, it's a divergence, but it's a similar thing. But all of the young ones are totally into that. And the Bitcoin investments is like, okay, that's interesting. But, that's what you're talking about. The young ones telling you how to make money. That's one
Yeah,
model.
they're telling you and me how to make money. It's like,
Well,
I'm
I
not,
don't know how to make money.
no, well, I'm not going to risk any of my money with you guys, that's for sure. I've always said in my entire career, my financial investments, I don't have any get rich quick schemes. They're all long term,
That's because
rock
there's too many
solid.
get rich
They're
quick
not going to
schemes.
make me get rich quick, I can tell you that. Anyway,
Can I just,
yep,
have you finished on that topic? Sorry,
yep. Yeah, go, move on.
I had an interesting conversation with one of the electronic drum manufacturers yesterday, and they were telling me about what's happening in Nashville because there's this new drum kit that's just come out. And I'm just
Well, it snowed in Nashville yesterday.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect all the electronic drum kits that are now in all the venues on the main strip because you have to play an electronic drum kit in all those venues because they're not letting acoustic drums in those venues anymore.
Why is that, Rob?
Too loud.
The acoustic drum kit is?
Yes.
Oh,
but that's the point that I was thinking about it. And I said I talk to customers all the time and there's this new drum kit come out. It's a silent electronic drum kit. So you've got the Roland TD17, haven't you?
Yeah, correct.
All right. So there's a certain amount of sound that comes off those mesh pads.
Yes, yeah.
I've got the Evans here. I don't know if you heard that, but I've got the Evans DB1s, which is the mesh.
Oh, you got the mesh or the rubber? I quite like the TT4s that had the rubber pads. They were nice.
I've got an acoustic drum kit here with the Evans DB1 mesh heads on them with foam under them, so they're quiet. I'm using triggers because I'm having problems with my neighbours complaining about us being too loud because I teach and rehearse it.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. The whole generation of people just whinging that stuff is too loud because we're living on top of each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to their little opinion and no one's willing to tolerate anyone anymore.
Well, hold on, mate. Hold on there. When I had my office in the Mushroom Building, I used to have my electronic drum kit in my office. So when I was a bit stressed at the end of the day, I'd start playing and publishing were underneath me and they'd run up straight away and knock on the door and go, "Can you stop? We can hear your bass drum
But
going."
That's the new Roland kit. There's a silent one that's got pads underneath it, all insulated, so you can play upstairs. The pads are all silent. You can hardly hear them. And all the bass drum pads and hi-hat pads, the foot pedals, are all on insulators. And the bass drum pad itself is on a rubber insulator, so you can't hear it through the wall. It's silent.
Oh, wow.
But what's happening, for playing, if you want to practice in the office at work, great, you can do that. But the thing that I go back to Mickey Hart, who's the drummer for the Grateful Dead, and he's made so much money through the Grateful Dead. You've probably heard of that band a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's researching all the way back to the first drums, the first instruments since we began. Now, how my mind works is all of this electronic drum sales, all of the movement, the Nashville thing just sort of tipped it over the edge for me. I think the primal instinct for hitting drums, because we get a lot of parents bring their kids' drum kits back, electronic ones, and they're broken because they're hitting a plastic pad with the fury of a teenager. But that's what drums are. They're primal. We smack them as hard as we want. And when they're loud, there's an energy that it gives us. Electronic drums don't do that.
Right.
That's disappearing. Like acoustic drum kits are going to disappear. It's happening as we speak.
Mm.
Might not be in 10 years, might not be in 20, but, venues are clamping everything down. Like, that's what I mean. Nashville.
Well, funnily you say that. I just had to finish one of our songs, a band I play in Deep South, right? And the singer, she's in Spain, and she said, "But can't you put some overlays of you playing drums in there?" And I said, "Well, I really only got the electronic drum kit set up, and I think it's pretty naff to put someone in a video clip like that playing an electronic kit, and I can't."
Because what's the reason?
Why I would say that? Because I just think it's a bit sissy. All right, I don't know why. That's what a bit sissy. You know, it's not.
Well,
You,
I think that goes back to what I said about that's primal. When you're
yeah,
hitting an acoustic instrument,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
there's a feeling about that.
Yeah, and it's big too, and so
Yeah,
I didn't feel comfortable,
and
but
it looks good.
and I only just discussed that with her yesterday, right?
Yeah,
And now that you've just said what you just said, um, I think for the next video we do, well, I then will record myself playing electronic drum kit and
do it.
put it in because you're
Yeah.
kind of suggesting it's becoming more and more acceptable.
Oh, it has across the board. That's what I mean. That the reality of that hasn't caught up with us yet, but it's happened.
Mm.
You know,
Is that similar? I mean, are we talking here a similar type of thing, Rob, to a petrol-driven car, fossil fuel to electric? We didn't want to believe it, but electric are right in that process of starting to topple over the fossil fuel.
yeah, it's the same thing. You talk about plastic, and you talk about CDs, and you talk about vinyl. I'm talking about electronic drum kits, and they're all plastic. Environmentally, not a good look.
Yeah.
Same thing with what they make electronic car batteries out of. The resources are finite, and it's actually costing more in fossil fuels to manufacture those things for electronic cars.
But
That's
you know
the
where
dilemma in that whole argument.
well, you know we're a couple of years behind America on everything, and if I was to go up Brunswick Street here, and all the venues, there's no chance you'll find any bands on a Saturday night playing with an electronic drum kit. All right, but what you're telling me, it's starting to happen in, let's call it in Nashville, right, for one of a better city, and therefore that will start to happen, and it will become more commonplace and acceptable to go into a venue seeing even a hard rock band and seeing the drummer on an electronic drum kit. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, I go back to, there's a band out of Adelaide that are mega successful, and the key members of that started the live cover band thing with electronic drum kits and backing tracks like many, 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 many years ago. And they turned that whole cover thing into what it is now, which is probably one of the biggest bands in almost the world by the interview that I watched this morning. They're cover bands and they're using electronic resources, but the thing in that whole thing, it's great. I'm happy for their success, but what's falling on the wayside, and I think the Nashville reference as well, is there's companies that have bought the whole strip. It's like a company went into Brunswick Street and bought every venue and said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to fit it out with all our gear, and you can't get a gig there unless you toe the line. Now, when you said about you going to Brunswick Street and everyone's using acoustic instruments and blah, 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 which is great, because they're independent venues. Is that disappearing? That's another question. Are independent venues being taken over by, there's ALH is one of the ones that happen over here, which I'll throw back to the Grouse, because we played in all the Saturno circuit pubs over here for 10 years. We were doing 2-3 nights a week for 10 years. That's a good earner. And I've got nothing against cover bands in that sense. But as soon as the big hotel chains came in, they changed the format. They put in more pokies. They put the singer into the corner with an acoustic PA and an acoustic guitar and no drums. And they took over what people were going to get fed musically. I think that's what Nashville's, just a new version of that with electronic drum kits. And you won't be able to go into a venue without all the backline being supplied, and it's all going to be electronic. It might not be. So I just thought it was fascinating. I went, it's coming back to Mickey Hart. There's a primal thing that we like about backing our instruments that I think is good for our creativity.
Everything's changing at such a rate of knots that it's going to be hard to keep up and to adjust to things. As I say, I feel a little bit more comfortable now playing on a video with an electronic drum kit. I didn't feel comfortable about that up until this morning, that's for sure.
2112, Peter.
Wow.
2112, it's on the way.
Now, before we finish up, Now I put up for everybody another Rob's Drum Shed video onto the Rob's Drum Shed playlist on Laneway Music. You know, and I think within a couple of hours I had 30 views or whatever. I have to refine all of that, Rob, because I need to see, well, I can't just put it up on and put generic description in there. I might need to put a description about that particular lesson and what's going on, and then going to people, you know, look here, subscribe here, back to your channel. So I'm going to talk to you about that. So I've started that process. It was hard to think about, you know, which the best way to do it. Anyway, we're starting that. So let's see how we go and see how that drives stuff. And now we have Virgin Soldiers. We readjusted 2 singles, which we had to do, but Another Day is coming out on the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Another Way
is coming out on the 20th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Right. And so the video and the audio will be out, so if everybody can have a listen to that. Then we haven't even got to the grouse yet. I don't know what's happening there, and we'll talk about that to set dates and a cover art and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, happening.
Yeah, all right. So the grouse, and then there's a new Deep South song, which I think is coming out maybe the same date as yours, the 20th, could be. It might be the week after, actually. And then we've had a new Johnny Batchelor track that's come out, Bad Mood, Bad Groove, which is just a great video, a great song. I like the song. And there's another Uppercut song that came out, Lose Control, so that's out. It's hard rock. And there's another Paul Janoskis from Cattle Truck, although we just put up a sensational clip from Cattle Truck from 1987 in front of 10,000 fans.
Yeah, I saw that. That's brilliant.
Just fantastic. And
love that.
And I was quite impressed by the sound of because what had happened was they'd lost their lead guitarist, so Paul had taken over the lead guitar work also, and I was quite surprised how good the sound was with him playing lead also, you know, and it was really good to watch, and we got plenty more of that to come. Of course, we've got plenty more of everything to come video-wise. We've got so much of it, but we just, you know, we get to it bit by bit. So there's been a lot of releases, and we are going to continue releasing right through Christmas and the New Year. So we even have a release coming out on the 27th, and then we'll start in the first week of January again. And I don't think people say to me, well, do you think that's good? And I go, well, what do people do? They're down the beach and they're discovering new music as they're sitting there listening. It's a good time to get to a new audience, I think. We don't do anything now. It's Christmas. It's downtime. All tools down.
But that's when as you said, you used to go down the beach and the radio was on and you were just down the beach for weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So
in the sun.
Yeah, and it's a great way to discover new music. So we are continuing to release right through, and obviously onto Laneway Red also. Laneway Red keeps just doing what it's doing, and you know, we're just populating it more and more. We've just put a new set of enhancements through for information on the band, so now you can see what year it was recorded. It's got explicit language in it, has it, their lyrics come up. If you've got a song story, it comes up. The liner notes come up, and it's more in a text-based form at the moment, and we're going to run with that for the next 6 to 12 months, and then we may bring it more into a graphical type. We're not quite sure, and we'll look at that. But that info now all comes up, and they're really good because you populate your releases with that, and so people can then learn who produced it, who engineered it, and all that kind of stuff. So that's happening also. So there's a lot happening. You know, it's been quite stressful the last week because so much has been happening and trying to keep up with it. Right, anything left for you, Rob, to contribute for the week? What do you got?
My YouTube shorts, once again, I'm getting more subscribers to my channel. So, yes, Rob Drumshed, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe. I'm getting feedback too, which is good because I'm able to talk one-on-one with participants there and help them with their drumming. From I think a couple from America I've had this week, which is good because honestly, people, it's not all about the top end. There's, as you said, there's so many people that have played throughout their whole life and, they're not acknowledged as superstars or even mildly successful, some, but they still love playing. So, and I think that's a right of every human being to be able to play an instrument and learn it and get better. There's no judge. You just learn it at your own time. I'm so happy to help people that, want to learn in their way.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important. And that's what's good about the retail thing, because I see on the front line once again how many people are buying instruments and encouraging their kids. So keep that up, because that keeps the whole music industry alive. That's the foundation that we all are living out of, and thanks to all those people who keep doing it. So give it a bash, people.
Absolutely. All right, Rob, until next week, stay safe and we'll talk topics next week, okay?
All right. Enjoy the sunshine, Melbourne. It's coming for you.
See you, Rob.
See you. Bye-bye.